You ever had one of those moments when your jaw just locks up because somebody did something so outrageous you're not even sure it's real life? That was me the morning I found my front gate splintered on the ground, cedars scattered like kindling, and a white luxury car cruising off down my private road like nothing happened. I'm Dan, been building homes and fixing foundations for 3 decades, and I thought I'd seen it all. Turns out I hadn't, because this woman, Linda, the self-proclaimed queen of our neighborhood association, was about to drag me and my wife into the kind of war I wouldn't wish on anybody. Now let me back up. I'm not a guy who likes drama. I bought my land 20 years ago when this place was still farmland, built my own house with my own hands, and I've been fixing fences and patching roofs for folks around here ever since. My wife, Claire, runs a small bookkeeping business out of the house, the kind that keeps neighbors' finances steady and marriages happy. We liked our quiet life until Linda decided my gate was a problem. See, she believed she could run this whole valley like it was her personal kingdom. She drove through my gate, smiled like she was doing me a favor, and said, "That old thing was a hazard, Dan. Community access, you understand?" I stared at her with half a gate still in my hands. "Lady, that was my property. You had no right." She just flicked her hand like I was a child fussing over spilled milk. And that's when I realized this wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a power play. So I called the sheriff. Thought that would settle it. Except when Sheriff Miller showed up, he acted like a kid caught stealing cookies. Wouldn't look at the wreckage, mumbled something about civil disputes, and told me maybe we could work it out. I knew right then he wasn't going to do a damn thing. Later, my neighbor Sam, a retired vet who sees everything, wandered over with his coffee mug and shook his head. "She's been doing this for months," he said. "She's got a development deal cooking, and your driveway is right in her way." My stomach turned. This wasn't about safety or some HOA rule. It was about money, and apparently, the sheriff was family, which made him useless. Pretty soon, the harassment started piling up. A county inspector knocked on my door, waving papers about anonymous complaints. My deck, my shed, even my firewood stacks suddenly weren't up to code. The guy slapped me with deadlines and fines that no normal person could meet. Then came the flood of fake online reviews tanking my contracting business. Stories about jobs I never worked, clients I never met. Claire's bookkeeping clients started dropping too, whispering about rumors they'd heard. It was like every part of our life was being chipped away by invisible hands, and every road led back to Linda. I'll be honest, for a while I felt like I was losing my grip. Sitting at the kitchen table at midnight with stacks of violation notices, canceled contracts, and Claire crying because her reputation was getting shredded, it was like watching termites eat through the walls of the life we built. But here's the thing. I've spent 30 years solving problems with concrete and steel. You learn that everything has weak points, people included. So I started building my survival file. Dates, times, copies of every notice, screenshots of every fake review. Sam came through with the smoking gun, a recording from one of Linda's little HOA meetings where she was coaching neighbors on what lies to tell. "Just say you feel unsafe," she instructed. "Don't mention the development deal." My skin crawled hearing it. That wasn't community safety. That was theater. And that's when I decided if she wanted a war, I'd fight it on my terms. Nights and weekends, I rebuilt my gate, but not like before. I dug 4 feet down into bedrock, poured concrete, laid in steel rebar thick enough to anchor a bridge, then dressed it up with cedar boards so it looked ordinary. To anyone driving by, it was just a gate. But I knew it was a fortress. Every bag of cement I mixed by hand was a promise. "Not today, Linda." Meanwhile, the pressure kept mounting. Insurance threatened to cancel our policy. The licensing board sent me letters about anonymous complaints. Even our bank called about neighborhood safety concerns, hinting they might call our loan. It was like living under siege. Claire sat across from me one night, head in her hands, and whispered, "She's bleeding us dry." And something inside me went cold. I looked her in the eye and said, "She's not taking anything else. Not from us." And then came the showdown. One crisp Friday morning, Linda rolled up my road with a parade like she was Caesar coming home from conquest. Her shiny white car in front, a developer buddy riding shotgun in a BMW, a news van right behind them, and poor Sheriff Miller trailing like a hostage. She called the cameras to witness her final victory. Me, broken and humiliated, forced to watch her tear down my gate on live TV. She was so smug, laughing with the developer, sipping coffee like it was just another closing deal. I watched from the porch as she slid into the driver's seat, adjusted her mirrors, and lined up like she'd done this before. Then she floored it. That Mercedes hit my gate at 25 miles an hour for 1,000 pounds of arrogance slamming into 30 years of construction know-how. The crash echoed through the valley like thunder. Her hood crumpled like a soda can, steam gushed from the radiator, airbags exploded in her face, and my gate didn't move an inch. Not a scratch. Neighbors poured out of their houses, phones in the air, laughing, gasping. The news crew caught every second. Linda stumbled out of the wreck, covered in white airbag powder, eyes wild like she'd just seen a ghost. And standing there, watching her empire collapse in front of cameras and half the neighborhood, I felt something I hadn't felt in months, peace. But the real twist came when a young guy in a suit walked up through the crowd. "Mr. Dan," he said, shaking my hand. "Name's Alex. I think it's time my Aunt Linda learned about consequences." My jaw nearly hit the ground. Turns out he was a lawyer, her own nephew, and the anonymous ally who'd been sending me evidence. She'd ruined his career years earlier with her schemes, and he'd spent 3 years gathering proof, waiting for the right moment. And man, did he deliver. That night, the community center was packed as Alex laid it all out. Emails between Linda and the developer, financial records showing how she forced families to sell cheap and then pocketed commissions, recordings of her coaching neighbors to lie. It wasn't just me she targeted, it was half the valley. People gasped, some cried, a few hung their heads realizing they'd been pawns in her game. By the end, state investigators were hauling her off in cuffs, and her real estate license was toast. The fallout was swift. The development project died. Families got restitution. The HOA voted her out and rewrote the rules so no one could ever abuse power like that again. Claire's clients came back once the truth was out, some bringing new referrals because they respected how she'd handled the storm. As for me, I still build decks and pour foundations, but I also consult with folks who want to make their properties a little more, let's just say, resilient. And every morning when I sip coffee on the porch and look at that gate standing tall, I remember the lesson. Physics doesn't negotiate. So yeah, Linda thought she could bulldoze through our lives like she bulldozed through my gate. She learned that some people don't fold under pressure. They reinforce, they endure, and when the moment comes, they let preparation do the talking. Now here's what I want to know. If you were in my shoes, would you have fought back the same way? Or do you think I went too far, building a trap instead of backing down? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this whole thing still sparks debate in our neighborhood. Was it justice, or was it revenge? I'll tell you what I think. It was survival. But I'll let you be the judge. And if you've ever had a run-in with a neighbor who pushed things too far, share your story below. I'd love to hear it. Don't forget to like this video. Subscribe if you want more stories where the good guys dig in and fight back. And I'll see you in the next one.